right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome again. Welcome to bring something to the Jesus Christ to the table. I'm Leslie.
It kind of feels like one of those days.
Yeah. Anywho, I'm actually Shelby.
And I'm Leslie.
And we have our very first guest, Elena.
Yay!
Here.
I feel like we need a full round of applause.
I know, we can't clap into the microphone though.
No, I did.
Hi, sorry
for having me.
Elena, state your name, your full-born Christian name.
So I'm Elena, and I use they, them, and she, her pronouns.
Thank you for that.
Thank
I
you.
always fuck that up
It's okay.
constantly. And that's part of the reason why you're here.
Yeah.
Because of me and not knowing anything about anything besides being a straight white girl. All right. Happy day. I won't say what day it is. I'm truly fucking this up. So Elena and I met, oh my God, it wasn't last year. It was at least
Year and a half ago?
Yeah.
I think it was 2 New Years ago.
Okay,
I
so
think.
shortly after I moved here, I think I moved here
Yeah.
that previous May, so like
Okay.
that New Year's
Mhm.
at Jenny and Micah's house.
Yeah.
Jenny and Micah always have like a,
Were there costumes? Was there a theme? Was something?
what was the theme?
That year, I think, was Barbie.
That's right.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Barbie. And it was a Barbie theme before we had like really talked about the Barbie movie coming out. So like we were all there and they were like, oh no, we just wanted to do Barbie theme. And we were like, oh, it's not for the movie. And they're like, no.
Mhm. They're like, yeah, we
It's
look
just
like
a big coincidence.
yeah. They look like Barbie and Ken.
They do look
kind
like
of.
Barbie and Ken, kind of.
And they had like the whole Barbie box, and I think I had a full sequins dress. Everyone had sequins on.
Yeah,
I don't
probably.
remember what anyone else was wearing. That's the first night I met Libby and Sebastian, and like literally like the whole crew.
Yeah.
Edgar busted his pants open, dancing on the dance floor.
That sounds like
Yes.
a good
Yeah.
time if you're busting your pants.
Yeah, it was a good time. So that's where we met.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward to whatever year we're in right now, 2024. We see each other quite often.
Yeah.
It was your birthday recently.
It was my birthday recently. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cute little park day.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like low key things.
Yeah.
For my birthday, I don't like to plan anything. So people had like texted me like, "Oh, what's the plan?" I was like, "I'm going at this time, and I will send the location when I'm there." That is the only plan.
That's a great plan.
It was amazing.
no stress, no pressure for anyone. Yeah. Which park did you go to?
Wash Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here, I like
Yeah.
that. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
That plan stresses me out more than plan. I was like getting nervous, like just hearing it. I don't know. I'm just like a psycho. I have to have like some kind of plan when it comes to that stuff, but that's me. I'm a Gemini.
Yeah. The less I can plan, the better. When it comes to things like that, like if I'm like traveling or doing anything, I like to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But when I'm really busy, I need to like not have to plan things. I'm very much like
Let it
the
flow.
least amount of responsibilities on me, the better.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that.
And it was your birthday, so you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Exactly. Makes sense.
I don't
You don't have to
really
adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like last time I saw you, and we don't have to talk about this, so tell me to fuck off if you don't want to. Last time I saw you, you went on your first date
Yes.
Oh my
with
gosh.
Grace.
Yes. So,
What? How did you guys meet? Was it online or?
so she and I met through friends that we play D&D with. We actually met.
And it's Dungeons
Yes,
and Dragons.
Dungeons and
for those who
Dragons.
don't know. I'm
Yes.
proud of the fact that I do know.
Yeah, so I met her through my friends that I play Dungeons and Dragons with. And we met, like a year and a half ago. Probably actually not too long after Shelby and I met.
Oh my God.
And that was the first time we met. And then we'd seen each other a handful of times at like parties and whatnot over the past, year or so. And then this past spring, we saw each other a little more frequently. And then we started chatting. And then we went on our first date in June.
Oh, the friendship
yeah.
foundation. I love it.
Yeah.
It took me 54 years to learn how to have a friendship before dating. So
Yeah.
good. All right. So where was your first date?
Our first date was at the Botanic Gardens.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
That's really cute.
It was very nice. It was very low key.
Yeah,
We just walked around the Botanic Gardens and we got dinner.
I like that.
Very fun.
It was very fun.
It's a lot less stressful than like sitting across from somebody and like it's feeling like an interview and
Yeah.
drinking. I don't like.
Yeah. And it was nice that we'd like met each other before. So it wasn't like that. I mean, it was still like, getting to know each other, but it wasn't that like icebreakers, first date, like questions like, oh, tell me about, you know, what you do for work, all that kind of stuff that we kind of already knew about each other, which was nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
So
That's the point of like having a friendship before, I guess. Like it makes things a little bit less awkward.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So we've been together for like 2 months now, and she's
After the first date, this is amazing.
yeah, and then she's gonna meet my family in
Wow.
like a month.
Oh my God.
She's going with me to my sister's wedding. So
Wow.
Full family experience.
Mhm.
Oh, that's going to be amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Is she nervous? Because I know she's kind of like a more reserved
yeah, she's
person.
a little nervous. But I mean, who's not nervous meeting their partner's family?
Yeah, literally.
And my family is big and loud and wild, and it's a wedding, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot going on, but
Are you in the
I'm
wedding
excited.
also, or are you able
so my sister's actually not having a wedding party.
Okay.
It's like you know, I mean, we're gonna be like, you know, like sitting with family, doing that kind of stuff, but when it comes to like the actual wedding, it's just gonna be her, her partner, and the officiants.
Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That'll be like not as overwhelming as
Yeah.
I think a wedding would be, I feel.
Yeah.
I've been to one of those where it's so awful, like full 90s, right? That's what we used to do. And then like the wedding party would be sitting far away, and then you as a guest would just be off alone. It was the worst. Ugh, not a good feeling.
Yeah.
So,
I had to do that with my like most recent ex-boyfriend. Like our third date was me going with him from Charlotte to Ohio for his best friend's wedding, who he was the best man for. So I'm sitting at the head table alone with all these people I don't know, and it was just like I ended up having fun. I can have fun in like every situation most of the time, but I was like, yikes,
Yeah.
that's a lot. The pressure.
yeah. And did you fly or drive?
We drove.
Oh my gosh.
It's like I'm
It's a
gonna
third date and you're
get to
driving?
know this guy.
Yeah, that is quite the trip.
Yeah. Well, it didn't work out. So. But 4 years, like that's
I
whatever.
did for a little bit.
Yeah, it worked out for as long as it needed to. So, well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Are you guys saying I love you?
We are.
Whoa. Okay.
You know, it's a stereotype, but queer relationships can move fast sometimes.
Really? I didn't know this.
Oh my gosh. You hear the stereotype about U-Haul lesbians who meet each other. Their first date lasts like 2 days and then they move in together.
Yeah. I have heard that. Whatever.
I
Like,
heard
get
that.
straight to the point.
Yeah.
And then, like, you figure out if you like the person or not, and then move on if you don't.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah. And you have that whole foundation that was already laid for like a year.
Yeah. So it's a little different from like, you know, if you're like meeting someone online or like met someone like for the first time for your date or
Right.
the second time for your date or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is exciting. I love this. I can't wait to hear how it is.
Yeah, it's been good.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, we skipped over like what we usually do at the beginning of the episode when we talk about what we're bringing to the table this week.
I was hoping
This
you
day.
forgot.
No, I
honestly.
sure didn't. I don't have one yet, but I can think of one on the fly if you guys want me to go first.
Elena.
Not easy, baby.
Okay.
Just passing that potato right along.
I don't know. I think I'm just bringing like low key, stress free vibes. I have a lot going on in the next like month and a half. So I think I'm just trying to like bring a low energy to the table, a nice chill energy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. I can feel it. Because I'm like high strung, I feel like all the time. So.
I got my cardigan, I got my tea.
Yes.
Cozy.
Your cozy socks too.
Yes.
Those look comfy.
Feeling cozy.
I love. Okay. What are you bringing?
I am bringing, I think what I think our whole podcast is about, because Elena is our first guest, of not feeling alone. I think not making judgments on people and like continuing. I know that was my word last time, but curiosity of like, don't make judgments about people. Like, let's get to know somebody for who they are. I know in my own like white woman, 54-year-old, like I've had people make judgments about me that were like super unfair. And so we should love and embrace all the diversity of us as humans and be curious about that.
Just be open to conversations instead of being closed off. I was going to say a little bitch, but
But that's how we like level things up and like, yes, bring something to the table and level up our relationships by being curious about the kind humans who are around us.
yeah.
That was very vague. But
No, I like it. Pertains to this conversation. What I'm I'm bringing, I feel like I always talk about like aesthetic stuff and like materialistic shit, but I'm bringing my micro needling face to the table today, like literally. I had that done yesterday, so I like never win anything ever. And a local gal who actually came to our podcast launch party has like this Medi Spa like in Sunnyside, and she had like a poll on Instagram, and I guessed right like what new service she was bringing to her place, and so I won a micro needling session. So they basically stab your face with a tiny, like a bazillion tiny little needles, and it makes you produce collagen, whatever. I looked like a fucking vampire yesterday, like
Did it last all day?
blood on my face.
Like red like that all day.
I was really red. They wiped it off kind of, but in a couple of days I'll look like a baby, hopefully. Or not, but we'll see. But yeah, Skin Mix is where I went, and it was like beautiful, like aesthetically like pleasing inside, just very chill, going along with your chill vibes.
Love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. All right, since you did a face thing, I have to say, like, I am wearing a hat because my PSA to everybody is to make sure you get your annual dermatological checks. Because I was there and she's like, I'm going to zap these 2 precancerous things on your forehead. And so now they've turned into like a bloody, scabby nastiness. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad I go every year, so everyone go and check.
Yeah, I can see one. It's not that bad.
Oh, what?
It's teeny oh my god.
Because then it like randomly starts bleeding. It's like frightening.
Are you glad you're here?
I'm so glad I'm here.
Freddy Krueger and like I don't even know what. Oh man. Okay, thank you for your authenticity and curiosity and chill openness.
Well, because it's here we are to ask our very first guest lots of questions and to learn, and I think that's great. And because you're so kind and open to all of our questions.
Yeah. So the whole, I guess, like backstory of how this came about, from my perspective, and I would love to hear your perspective too, was that we were at like a friend's like backyard movie night thing. And I think you were talking to just like a couple of us, and you mentioned that you're getting top surgery in October, which is a huge freaking deal.
Yeah.
And
like a month away.
Yeah. One of the busy things coming up for me.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my God. I didn't even. Yeah, we are basically. Okay. So that's soon.
Yeah.
And exciting, right?
Mm-hmm. It's very exciting.
And I heard you say that, and I was like participating in the conversation, but then I didn't know what to say because I was like, well, I've never known someone to have top surgery. I don't know how to relate. Because I've only, I guess, ever known people getting like breast implants. So like the opposite, plus everything psychologically that goes along with that too. And like how you got to that decision that you wanted that. So I just like froze. And then I thought about it afterwards and I was like, well, that's shitty of you. And like, you need to learn, like, I wanted to learn more about like your journey of like, I hate that word. So I'm sorry, but like how you came to like be yourself, who you are today, and like the decision around getting top surgery and what that means to you.
Yeah. So I am non-binary. I came out as non-binary in 2021, I think. And that like kind of answered a lot of questions and like weird feelings that I had that I just didn't have the words for. So like growing up, like I've always had a large chest, always. And I always felt like weird about it. I never like, I remember in high school having conversations with my friends who'd be like, oh my gosh, like I wish my boobs were as big as yours. I'd be like, you want them? Take them. I don't want them. And so that was kind of like a thought that I had always had. And then, you know, being home and a little bit more like isolated during the pandemic, and all that kind of stuff, I was hearing a lot more about other people's experiences with being non-binary and what it meant for them, how they related to their body, you know, their gender dysphoria, which is kind of like, you know, a disconnect with the, you know, sex you're assigned at birth and the gender you're assigned at birth. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, like this answers a lot of my questions about like how I feel about my body, how I feel about myself, how I feel about like how I relate to my sisters and my friends who are women and whatnot. Because there was always, I was realizing there was always this thing of like womanhood that just never felt right for me, but I didn't know why. And so like I always resonated like with my sisters being like a sister, being a daughter and whatnot. But being a girl, I realized that's not me. And
did you feel like that when you were little also, like 8, 9?
I don't think I noticed it as much when I was little, but I also wonder, like, I mean, you know, like I was saying, like my relationship with my chest growing up and whatnot, like I think there were some of these like feelings that I had, but I had nothing to relate it to, so I didn't know what it meant. So I can't like really speak on like too many experiences that like where I was like, oh, I'm not a girl growing up per se, but I do know, like I did know that, you know, trying on different things of like femininity and whatnot and like conversations around like being a girl, being a woman, just always felt a little like not right. But also like growing up, like I, you know, was aware of like what it meant to be trans and whatnot, but specifically was aware of what it meant to be trans without a binary sense. So being like a trans man or a trans woman. And I also knew like, well, I'm not a man. That's not me. So it wasn't until I knew more about like what it meant to be non-binary and like hearing people's like personal experiences with being non-binary that I started like realizing I was connecting to some of those stories. But I mean, everyone's experience with being non-binary is different. So like sometimes like one of the first few times I like knew what non-binary was, I remember reading an article that someone wrote and their experience was very different from mine. So like I didn't, like I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is so interesting. Like I want to know more about this, but I didn't connect to it the same way I realized I started connecting to other people's stories. And that like hearing those lived experiences where I was like, oh, that makes sense to me. Like that makes a lot more sense than other conversations I'd had about like girlhood and womanhood growing up. That gave me more of like words for what I was feeling.
So for me, I do have somebody who's really close in my life who is transgender, born identified as a female, and then started transitioning probably at the age of 12, 13.
Okay.
But absolutely identifies as a boy. And just always felt that way. So can you explain then what the difference is on being non-binary? Like what does that mean?
Yeah. So being non-binary basically means that your gender doesn't fit the gender binary. It doesn't fit man or woman. And that's different for everyone. Some people feel like they're kind of like a mix of both. Some people feel like, okay, there's the x-axis, the y-axis. I'm way out here in left field in no relation to any of that. And so pretty much when it comes to being non-binary, it just means that you aren't a man, you're not a woman. Like what that means to you is very different for everyone, but it just means that you don't fall in those two categories.
You feel a pull like when we're Are you attracted to both men and women?
Yeah. So I actually came out in high school. I'm bisexual. And at the time, you know, I identified as a woman, as a girl. And I feel like as I've gotten older and recognized my own non-binary identity and whatnot, like that still fits. Because, you know, when you're bisexual, you know, you're attracted to people whose gender is the same as yours and people whose gender is different. Another way you'll hear described is you're attracted to two or more genders, right? So yeah, I'm kind of attracted to a lot of people.
Hell yeah.
Just like in theory.
Right. I feel like that is also like what kind of messes with, I just think of like trying to explain this to my dad. Like I love my dad forever. And we're from like, we grew up in the same city, you and I did. So I feel like I didn't grow up knowing what any of this was. Like this to me didn't exist in Webster, New York in like 2006. I think we had like the only like sexual diversity or like, I don't even know what to call it. It was that we had one like flamboyantly gay guy in my class and that was it. And So I feel like it's a gray area, and it's whatever you want it to be. And that's, to me, that's like amazing and totally fine. But like, I just think of trying to like explain these things to like my father, and I'm like, I just can't.
Yeah. And I mean, that like is definitely like a reality.
Yeah.
I have family members that I'm out to. I have other family members that I'm not out to, just because I know that conversation wouldn't go great. And I'm like, well, I'm going to protect my own peace, and I don't need to put myself in the position of this conversation where like they're going to either say some like very ignorant things to me that they don't realize are hurtful, or are just going to say hurtful things because they don't see who I am as like a valid person. Right. And I mean, you know, that's not saying that like they don't love me, but like it's a reality of that situation.
Yeah.
So that is an area where, yeah, like some people, you're like, yeah, let's have this conversation. I can try to explain it to you if they want to learn. Amazing. Other people are not open to that conversation. And so sometimes you're just like, okay, well, I'm going to protect my own emotions and not put myself in that situation.
No, and it's not your responsibility to have to, like, you're gracious enough to like explain it and have this conversation with us, but like, it's not your responsibility to explain this to every single person who doesn't necessarily like want to learn about like your life.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I get
preserve that. And that's your own, like your own piece. And people don't earn that trust from you to, I think, be open and share that.
Yeah.
How great to be reading something, because I do think that's all kind of new, right? Relatively, as we've kind of evolved, because it was just you're gay or homosexual and that was it. But I'm sure there has been so many people who've been struggling anyway with still feeling like this isn't right. This isn't feeling right for me. And when you have to live a lie or not your truth, that would be a horrible feeling.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's very interesting because it is something that, like, if you go back in like history in a lot of cultures, like there is this like awareness of gender diversity and whatnot. Like, you know, if you think of like two-spirit people in native cultures, or just looking back at different like African cultures and whatnot, there has always been this like awareness. But I think especially within like Western culture and whatnot, some of that either was like erased or, you know, not as common in other areas. And so then the knowledge of it as like a broader society feels new, when, I mean, in reality, it's not a new thing. Right. Which is interesting.
Which is true. Because yes, that's how we all came over here, or our descendants. Because they just want to come to America and create this very strict conservative Christian value system.
Yeah.
And that's what we've just kind of had to grow up with, which has not been the case for thousands of years. So
yeah. So it is interesting because, yeah, like it's something that's been around for so long, but there are so many people who are like, oh, I've never heard of this before, because like, yeah, that like conservative Christian, like just kind of societal and like societal norms that have kind of been established, like over time kind of erased that knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that's like to like have to deal with everyone else's opinions. Like even just, I'm not relating this in any way to like the only experience I have is my experience. So I'm just like thinking of like the pressures I feel as like the straightest woman ever. And that's fucking annoying to like hear like, oh, your parents want you to have kids. Like you should be married by now, whatever. So, I mean, what was it like when you were like during COVID and you were like kind of going through like this realization and everything? Like, do you have a kind of like a defining moment that you remember where you were like, oh shit, like this is how I feel?
I don't think I have like one specific defining moment, but it was something that like I remember thinking about for a little while. And then it was Transgender Day of Visibility. And I was like scrolling through Instagram, and I follow a lot of, you know, trans people on Instagram, you know, that either I know in my life or, you know, people that have like a social media presence and whatnot. And that was the day when I was like, you know what, I'm just going to say something to my sisters. And I sent my sisters a text saying like, hey, I, you know, think I'm non-binary, blah, blah, blah. And I felt this huge weight lifted off of me. Like, I was like, okay, this really is true.
Wow.
Like, I've been thinking about it for a while, but now, like, saying it to someone and not just thinking it makes it feel real and makes me feel, like, good.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so that was probably, like, more of a defining moment for me. Where it wasn't like an, aha, this is what I am. It was more of like a, now I'm telling people and now it feels right and it feels real.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Did they call or they text or like, let's FaceTime? Like, we need to have this conversation.
I mean, we
This is
all
big.
like, they were texting me and whatnot, and I probably had conversations with, I don't think I had conversations with them day of, but I probably talked to them about it later. I ended up like calling my parents and having a conversation on the phone with them about it and whatnot. But yeah,
That's so
but my family's always been like very, very supportive. They were supportive when I came out as bi in high school. And they've, just always kind of supported me. So when I told them like, hey, I'm like looking into top surgery or like every kind of different thing that I've like come out to my family with, they've just always been really, really great and supportive.
It warms my heart.
So, yeah.
Kind of to Shelby's point too, like life is just hard enough as it is. Like nobody's going to add on anything extra, any kind of extra adversity to get along in life. So anyone who says that, like, oh, you just think that or it's a phase or whatever, it's just so dismissive. And why would anybody want extra challenges? Just trying to get through.
And also, like, mind your own business. Like, I saw something on Instagram. I saw that somebody posted, and it was like,
easy to say, but that doesn't happen. Everybody has to chime in with their stupid opinions.
They don't have to. Like, keep it to yourself.
You're right.
I don't. I mean, no one's going to live the way that I live, whatever. That's the struggle.
But my kind of generation does. Like, they 50, 60, 70-year-olds do seem to, like, have some kind of opinion or they're dismissive with it, right? I mean, your generation is very different. My son at 22, totally different generation. Or, like, it would never occur to them to insult or deny somebody's humanness or truth or whatever that is. But we do.
Yeah. The thing that I saw on Instagram was like, what if we let people be exactly who they are? Then what? Like, what's going to happen? Oh, they won't hurt you. They're not going to like affect your life. Nothing's going to change in your life if you let someone love whoever they want to love or dress however they want to dress. Like, what's the big deal? And I was like, I wish everybody like could think that way, but you're right. Like, again, my dad is a great guy, but like just thinking, even explaining it to like my Italian grandmother too, like I did the whole 31 Easter and it was like the world came crumbling down because I didn't eat the meat pie that she made. And like trying to explain sexuality that's different than what they've been used to their entire life. I just like commend you for being able to have those conversations with people. I mean,
we're supportive. I mean, like there's people, they use derogatory terms, but that was normal for them growing up. And so we would love to think that people will evolve as they get older, but they didn't. And so I kind of just let the 70 and 80-year-olds, that's just, they don't know any better, right? They just,
you're not going to change them at this point.
But I love your parents who were just supportive and loving of you and accepting.
They're really great. And actually, I came out to one of my grandparents because I was like, you know what, let me test this conversation. Because my grandma has dementia. And so I was like, okay, well, she's not going to remember this conversation. And it was very interesting. So I was like, had the conversation and she was looking at me and she was like, so what does that mean? And I explained it to her and she was like, okay, as long as you're happy. I was like, wow. It was really sweet. And like, it was interesting. So I was like, I don't know how she would have reacted like 5-10 years ago before her dementia. But it was nice to be like, okay, within like where she is now, if this conversation went poorly, she's not going to remember it. But also, like, with where she's at, like, right now, she's just like, as long as you're happy, that's all I care about. And I'm like, thanks, Grandma. Like, that, nice. Like, even knowing now, like, she's would not remember that conversation, it meant a lot to me. To be like, I don't know how she would have been before her dementia hit, but right now, she just wants the best for me.
And that's all that matters. Like, you can also try and guess, like, how other people are going to respond. Like, do you feel like before you told your sisters or, like, your parents about being bi or non-binary, were you, like, amping yourself up and, like, trying to figure out what they would say?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even, like, knowing that they were going to be supportive, I was super nervous.
Yeah, of course.
And, like, unsure, like, how people were going to react, if it was going to be, like, a big deal, a small deal, like, whatever. And just because it's a big conversation to have. And you, even knowing that, like, my family is super supportive and, like, I mean, growing up, we, my friends, I can't even talk. My parents had, multiple friends who were queer and in like queer relationships and whatnot. So that was like just like very present for me growing up.
Yeah.
Which I'm really grateful for.
Yeah.
And so that was like, I knew the conversation would probably go okay, but even with that, like, it's so nerve-wracking.
Oh my God, yeah.
That like, I mean, if you're unsure of how your family's going to react, like, that adds like a whole other level to it.
Don't miss out. Stay tuned for the second part of this incredible episode.
And that's a wrap of another episode of Bring Something to the Table.
We hope you enjoyed diving into the wild world of candid conversations with us.
Remember, you can catch all of our episodes on your favorite podcast platform.
And if you love what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review.
Your support means the world to us.
So until next time, keep embracing the messiness of life, keep seeking those shared experiences, and always remember,
you deserve a seat at our table.
bye. Bye.